Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com talked about the latest with the Indians as the battle for Ohio shifts gears from here down to there as the Indians and the Reds continue. They split the first two games of the series, and you know what? Regardless of the controversial play there that may have cut short an Indians rally, and you got to realize, you know, when you're talking about it and you're looking at the perspective of the score, and it's 9, you know, you're thinking, okay, what does that matter? But at the time, you got to realize they tacked on those 3 in the 9th, and so it kind of skews things. I mean, you're talking about a potential 6-4, 6-5 game. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities there to blow things back into it. So, but regardless, Johnny Cueto went out there and he did his thing. We talked about that. And by the way, until Mike joins us, 216-539-7535. If you want to hit me up with a quick phone call, 216-539-7535. Hit us up on the social media, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixCLE. You can email me, thesportsfix@AOL.com. But, you know, Cueto and Tomlin, it was a matchup of two pitchers there, and we talked, that was going to be the key, was which showed up on both sides of it. And both kind of, you know, well, I guess what some people expected with Josh Tomlin. Let me start there while we're waiting on Mike to join us here. Josh Tomlin, my boy, and you guys know from spring training I wanted him to come up. And again, look at the tale of two sides of Josh Tomlin's season, you guys. I mean, the first was 5-1 at one point, rolling along, and then the bottom has just dropped off on him, alarmingly so, on this stretch that he's had here, and he just continued it there. And it to say it's not been going well for Josh Tomlin would be an understatement. But here's one good thing to keep in mind: the Indians won't need a fifth starter, except I believe it's 3 times in the entire month of August here. So from that perspective, there they'll be able to shorten the rotation if you can get the 4 guys going. That'll at least eliminates you from the crazy adventure that we go on every 5th day. But another home run allowed by Josh Tomlin. And you know what, too, is I'm looking at the home run list, and I noticed the other was by Carrasco. That's a guy that I think is, and you can kind of tell, Terry Francona was even hinting around a bit about stretching him out and getting him going. Carrasco may put himself, by the end of the season, back in the discussion for getting back into this rotation if the Indians need somebody else. We've continued to see what he's done, but, you know, Josh Tomlin, getting back on him and what he did, I mean, the home run ball, as we know, something that we have that we've talked about, has plagued him. He gives up the 3-run home run, puts you behind right off the bat to Santiago. Tomlin has given up 17 home runs on the season. He's tied for 11th in Major League Baseball with Hector Noesi from Chicago. The most home runs allowed by a starting pitcher, 17 so far this season. He hasn't won a decision since the game that we mentioned, in the middle of the terrible streak that he's had. That start that he had against Seattle where he went the whole way, which even makes this look even stranger when you look at the whole thing. But let's keep that conversation going and be joined in just a second here as soon as I hit the button. Mike Brandenberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. Mike, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing good. I heard you talking about our guy Josh Tomlin, and I think you're right on the same path that I was on watching that game last night. I think time is running out on the Josh Tomlin experience.
What happened? Like, before we get back into the game last night, what is the? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things you could point to, and if you had the answer, then we'd be making a lot more money than we do. But I mean, look at how he started, and we've seen him when he's had his stretches of success. He's looked like a completely different pitcher. But even then, you know, but of course, when you're winning, it's easy to go, well, he's going to give up a home run from time to time, but we keep nobody on the base, and that makes it okay. But I mean, just look at this, and then even in this stretch, like I said, to have that one jewel of a performance in the middle of it, surrounded by all the garbage since. But what's your take on Josh Tomlin and where he's fallen to, and is there fixing this?
I think the simple answer is that in general, he's just not that good. I mean, I think he's an organizational
we're seeing
depth guy. What's that?
We're seeing it. I don't even know how to argue with that, man.
I mean, and the longer answer to that is, you're right. He has had stretches, and I mean, he had a really nice stretch. I mean, really in spring training in April and into May when he was brought up. And he's had those before. He's always been susceptible to the home run ball, and I think that the real answer is, Jerry, is that, you know, it is such a fine line for him when it comes to his stuff, because he can't make a mistake locating at all, because his stuff is not overpowering, it's not dominant, and so when he makes a mistake, it gets tagged, and I think that is really the answer as to, I mean, I think looking ahead and trying to fix this rotation, either, you know, for the rest of this year or looking ahead to 2015, I think you're doing yourself a disservice at this point if you're counting on Josh Tomlin to be a big or any part of the solution. I think he's organizational depth, and in the Indians' case right now, they don't have a lot of depth. I was with one of our writers, Steve Eby, the last couple of days, and we were talking about the idea that, I mean, basically right now they have 6 guys for 5 rotation spots, and there's really no other options in this organization for the rest of the year. I mean, you have Kluber and Bauer and Salazar, and then the bottom 3 of Tomlin and McAllister and TJ House, there's nothing else. The cupboard is bare after that. There really are no other options, and you know, I think at a certain point, to me, I mean, I know that McAllister has struggled too, but in my mind, I think you have an idea of what Josh Tomlin is moving forward, and I don't think it's much. And I think at this point, it might be best to bring McAllister back and let him pitch through his problems, for better or for worse, at the big league level, and try to have an idea going into 2015 as to what you think you can get out of Zach McAllister, because I don't really think that Tomlin is going to be a part of the solution moving forward.
Man, I'll tell you, and I know, and I hear you. I still, man, part of me wonders if he can be the kind of guy that puts in an off season like some of these. I mean, we've seen, it's not like guys are cast in stone, you know, Tomlin. I just wonder if he's the kind of guy that can bring himself back, or like you said, man, if this is the thing I find interesting is, like, even this season, I mean, guys hit, you know, 200 through the first time through the lineup with him, man. So with him, a lot of it is just timing him and figuring him out, and then once you got him, you got him. And unfortunately, when you hit him, it usually goes pretty far. I wanted to ask you, I mentioned right before you got in on the line, so I don't know if you heard it or not, but I was talking about how the Tribe, and really this is very fortunate for them with their problems, the way the schedule breaks out this month. They're only going to need the 5th starter a couple of times. They're going to be able to rely heavily on just 4, which allows them to shorten things up. And I think, really, I mean, you couldn't be more fortunate for a team having trouble finding 5 guys to put out there.
Yeah, and I mean, the way that falls, I know there's a lot of Mondays off there in a stretch. So, you know, I would think, you know, Tomlin probably does go back to the minor leagues soon, and you see a relief pitcher come up in his place, or, you know, eventually it seems as if they think that Michael Bourne's going to get back, and, you know, you try to get a little healthier in that stretch. So, I mean, a team that has no depth, it certainly will help them to not have to use 5 guys very often. But it's funny because I was in Columbus for the last couple of days, and we were on our way home this morning, and I looked at the standings, and I was like, you know, I'm blown away by all of their problems and by how poorly they have really played. I mean, I think if you didn't look at the standings, if you didn't look at the numbers, if you you know, I think the eye test tells you this team is nowhere near a playoff caliber team, and then you open your newspaper and you're like, oh yes they are. They
yes,
they
they
could
are.
be. I mean, I was was joking with Steve, and you know, it's a thing that you and I always talk about, and you know, the pessimist in me always says, you know, if you want to hold out for the 10-game win streak, go ahead, you know, but this team is still, you know, winners of 4 of their last 5, and they go to Cincinnati and they have Salazar tonight, and they go to New York for the weekend, and the Yankees really are the same team as the Indians in that they have no pitching, and how they are in this is smoke and mirrors, and no one really has an answer for any of that. And, you know, as crazy as it sounds, I mean, this team could play their way right into this in the next week. I mean, it's just as likely that they win another 4 out of 5 as it is that they, you know, could lose 4 out of 5 and play their way out of it too. But it's just such a bizarre scenario, I think, where when you look at them on a day-to-day basis and you watch them play, you can't, I don't know how you can look at them and say that's a playoff team. But then when you look in the standings, you're like, I guess they are? Like, question mark?
If they had won last night, they'd be a game and a half back. Toronto just continuing to let these teams catch back up. Look at the bunch up in the wild card now. I mean, Kansas City is now a half game back. Seattle and the Yankees are just a game back, and then the Tribe 2.5 back, missed the golden opportunity to be a full game caught up on Toronto there last night. But, I mean, that's amazing. And Kansas City, too. And the way these teams have flipped. 2 weeks ago, these teams were in a completely different order. Tampa was ahead of Cleveland. Kansas City was right there with Cleveland. Seattle was in the second wild card. And, I mean, it's going to continue to churn like that for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the answer really is we're in one of those strange years where, honestly, there's probably only 4 teams that are good enough to be playoff teams in the American League, and unfortunately the rules call for 5, and so the next 5 are all probably not really good enough, but somebody's going to go, and anyone out of that group, you know, whoever gets hot at the right time can play their way into it.
I don't like that, Mike. I don't like looking at it like that. Man. I get where you're coming from, but
you can look at it however you want, but I don't know how anybody can consciously say that really any of those teams are playing good baseball at this point.
No, they're all just playing okay baseball, but the window's open at this point. I'm not going to look at it and go, well, somebody had to go. Fuck, yeah, man, I'm going. You know what I mean?
Sure. I mean, it kind of goes, look, I mean, for everything that we've talked about and for as mediocre and up and down as this season's been, I mean, I think what they did at the trade deadline was what they should have done. I think you're seeing since then, at least in a small sample size, but the loss of Asdrubal Cabrera and Justin Masterson is not changing anything that this team is doing. And I think we would all be very realistic and fair to say if this team did get that last wild card spot and did get into the playoffs, it would very likely be a short playoff stint. I mean,
I'll give you that.
Even if Corey Kluber goes to Anaheim and beats the Angels for a night, I mean, you're looking at 3 starters against the Athletics of, Bauer, Salazar, and probably TJ House before you get back to Kluber. I'm not sure you're getting back to Kluber. So, I mean, in fairness, I think there's definitely some value in some of these guys getting that opportunity down the stretch and playing meaningful games. And I think we all recognize and know that this team has some flaws and is definitely dying for better starting pitching. But if you're in it, you go with what you got, and one, maybe you find a diamond in the rough, and 2, even if it's a short playoff run, even if it's a game again, or if it's a 3-game sweep at the hands of the Athletics or something, there has to be some value in that for this group and this organization, and you hope that you can add to this roster for 2015, and you make another legit run at it again.
Let me ask you something here. Now, 2.5 back here with, what do we got, 3 weeks